So, Your Excellency, the New Zealand High Commissioner Jonathan Curr, Your Excellency, the European Union Commissioner Excellency Sujiro, and the Sergeant of Affairs, the Spanish Embassy, Ignacio. Thank you once again. First of all, may I take this time to congratulate New Zealand for the sevens and also for the other medals and leading the charge for the Pacific, and also like to congratulate France. Sir, I know that you're from France. Congratulate the women's team for winning the silver medal. And also like to also thank the work that the European Union has been doing in regards to COVAX and working with us, and also in this case liaising, and thank the Spanish government and the people of Spain for releasing the 100,000 vaccines, and also to our Wale, the New Zealand High Commission, and the New Zealand government for supporting us in its commitment of 500,000 vaccines. And this 100,000 has come through the willingness of the European Union and Spain to be able to supply that and sell it to New Zealand, and from New Zealand to us at this difficult time. And as the Excellency has said, this has happened because of international cooperation led ably by our diplomats here, the Honourable Prime Minister, also in his position as the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and the Minister for Economy and the Attorney General, in terms of liaising with our diplomatic partners, and this has been able to happen. I was informed by His Excellency, if this did not happen, then we probably their vaccines that were due to come to us would have been later, maybe end of this month. But because of the willingness to support us through the European Union and also the Spanish government, that New Zealand has been able to bring this across to us at this time. And this comes at a very important time for us, because we've now achieved 85% of our first doses, and there's a whole lot of people in the community who are now ready for their second doses. And with the ability now to reduce the doses from 12 weeks to 8 weeks, with the use of Moderna, and also with the instructions and the guidance that came out yesterday with being able to vaccinate those who've been positive at least 14 days and beyond that, as long as they are clinically well, that argues well for our wanting to be able to completely vaccinate at least 80% of our population. We want to vaccinate more, and the more that we have with the first dose, and we'd like to invite them to come back for their second dose. There are now discussions in terms of vaccination in children, and I know that my officials, led by the Permanent Secretary and Dr. Rachel, are leading that charge in terms of where we're going to go. We know there have been some jurisdictions have done that in Europe, in the United Kingdom, and also across the Tasman, but we want to be able to ensure that we protect everyone, including our children. And lastly, I just want to say today that today is a sunny day. It's a reminder to us that every crisis will come to an end. And as long as we keep on vaccinating as quickly as possible, and we get more than 50% of our targeted population vaccinated and reach 80%, then the rates of hospitalizations and deaths will reduce remarkably. It's been shown in all countries around the world where there's been an uptake of vaccination, and once we can continue to increase the number of those who are fully vaccinated, then the numbers of hospitalization, the numbers of new patients, the numbers of deaths will decrease. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, European Union. Thank you, Spain. And thank you, New Zealand.
Tēnā koutou katoa, Bulavanaka, namaste. A very warm welcome to you all this afternoon. Particularly warm welcome to the Honourable Minister of Health, Dr. Waqainabete, and my colleagues from the diplomatic community, the EU Ambassador, Sujiro Sem, and the Spanish Charge d'Affaires, Ignacio Garcia. Very fortunate today to be joined by these colleagues for the handover of 100,000 AstraZeneca vaccines purchased by the Government of New Zealand, from the Government of Spain, and with the assistance of the European Union and some EU member states who have been an integral part of making this event happen. I wanted to begin by acknowledging and commending the great success that Fiji has had with its vaccination rollout. The statistics are impressive. Over 85% now have had their first jab, over 27% have had their second jab. Internationally, it's a great achievement and highly commendable. and a real pleasure for New Zealand to be able to support that vaccination rollout. And I acknowledge Dr. Rachel as well, who's been leading that work here. I also wanted to acknowledge the importance of the international cooperation that has led to today's event. The purchase, the procurement of vaccines is not simple. It's very complex. There has been a lot of work that has gone on by Fiji Ministry of Health officials, by officials in Spain, and EU member states, particularly Sweden, and also, although a non-EU member, Norway has also been instrumental. And of course my own colleagues in New Zealand and my colleague Virginia from our High Commission here in Suva. Vaccine supply has been a challenging issue for many countries, and more international cooperation to help countries resolve these issues is very important. As many of you know, vaccines are just one part of the assistance package that New Zealand is providing to Fiji. It's very important that we are supporting one of the Fiji government's kind of primary strategies for addressing the Delta variant of COVID.
Bula, Honorable Minister, Excellency, Jonathan, the Spanish Chargé, Ignacio, members of the media. Thank you for having me today, Jonathan, for this very exceptional moment. I have 5 messages for you. The first one is that vaccination works. At a time when the world has to grapple with the new wave of COVID-19 fueled by the Delta variant, we get it from the most authoritative sources in Europe, the European Centre for Disease Control and the European Medicines Agency, that vaccination averts the risk of serious illness and deaths. My second message is that vaccination campaigns work. We witness it in the European Union. This week we just crossed this milestone of half of the European population being fully vaccinated. That's 223 million people, and that's 60% of the adult population of the European Union. Vaccination campaign in Fiji works very well, and I want to congratulate the Fijian Ministry of Health and Medical Services for this achievement. With, Jonathan reminded us, 85% of the people here in the adult population receiving 1 dose and 27% fully vaccinated. My third message is that fair and equitable access to vaccination matters. In the European Union, we decided to contribute 2.7 billion euros, 6.65 billion Fijian dollars to the COVAX initiative to ensure fair and equitable access to vaccination worldwide. But at the same time, we recognize that vaccines cannot be produced everywhere. So since day one of this pandemic, the European Union has made the choice to share with the rest of the world half of the production of vaccines in the European Union. My fourth message is that the fight against this global pandemic requires a global cooperation. And today you have the typical example of this global cooperation, with a country, New Zealand, procuring and paying for the vaccines. Another country, Spain, producing and ensuring the delivery of the vaccines. An international entity like the European Union, because we're a bureaucracy, we facilitated the delivery of these vaccines, which will be received today by the country of Fiji. My last message is that now is not the time to let our guard down. Despite the good results of vaccination, the vaccination campaign, access, fair and equitable access to vaccination, and successful international cooperation, we have to keep up the effort to get vaccinated, and we have to still stay home as much as we can, wear masks, like today, everyone is wearing masks, we have to wash our hands, we have to keep our distance, we have to avoid crowds. But at the end of the tunnel, we will see this light, and an event like today brings us closer to the end of the tunnel. Inaka Vakalevu.
Okay, which camera is happening now? From that side.